Hi everyone, it's Jen. So I was talking to my friend Kerry the other day, and she was mentioning that she was almost done implementing the sound effects for Chapter 3, and that she had a little surprise for me. So I was super excited because I thought, oh, maybe she might have some a music track or something for me. For my game. So I downloaded kind of her changes to my script files, and I noticed inside the audio folder that the track that's titled Ilian Wave, it used to be Ilian MP3 when it was just a filler asset from Purple Planet Music, and I noticed that now it's a WAV file, so I'm thinking that she have replaced it and with something that she composed. So I thought I would record my reaction to it, and hopefully be able to share it with you guys. I have complete and utter confidence in Kerry that I'm gonna love it, because I really think her work is excellent, and I'm really flattered and thankful that she's willing to work on this project with me. Just a little bit of story time. Kerry and I have known each other since middle school. We've been friends since middle school, when we were both in band, and I was playing clarinet at the time, and I accidentally took her clarinet home because we had like our clarinet cases looked really similar, and I just wasn't being careful. And so then she noticed that she couldn't find her clarinet that day, and she saw my clarinet case, which looked a lot like hers, and mine had my information on it, so she ended up calling me, and we switched back our clarinets, and we were friends after that, and she was really the one who introduced me to video games. I mean, I had played some Atari and Nintendo games with like my brothers and my cousins and stuff, but she was the one who really got me interested in it because she introduced me to role-playing games, to Japanese role-playing games, to the Final Fantasy series. And after I went over to her house and got to play these games, I got really interested in playing them, and I fell in love with like the Japanese anime style, manga style of the character art, and that kind of ended up kind of launching my whole pursuit of that career, and now as a hobby that I really enjoy. So I'm really happy to be working on this project with her. And also, funny enough, back when I was in college for animation, and she was in school, in college, pursuing music, I was working on my animation thesis, which had the SoulUnion characters in it. The story was different then. The main character is actually Mikhail, and there was like a lot of tweaks to their designs and backstories since then. But she did the music for my animated short based on that story and characters, and I have revisited the story and characters a few times since. I did a comic for an anthology that was around 7 chapters long. It never got finished, and then I kind of did like a reboot self-contained comic back maybe around 2012 or something, where I kind of tweaked the story and characters then as well. And now I'm revisiting it again, and I feel like it's more of a personal story than it's ever been, even though, funny enough, it always dealt with themes of adoption. Mikhail was an orphan, and he was adopted in all versions of the story, actually even in the current story as well. And except for he wasn't adopted in the current version, but he was an orphan. And in previous versions of the story, Mikhail and Keska were sisters. Alien has always been a spell weaver. So yeah, some things never changed, but I'm having a lot of fun and a lot of nostalgia and working with these story and characters again, and I'm really excited to see what she's come up with for Ilian's theme, which is kind of like the theme of the entire game, since he is the main protagonist and it is like his inner journey or his inner self-exploration. So let's take a listen. While we're doing this, I was a little bit prepared for this, so I thought I would go ahead and bring up this comic is on my DeviantArt website, which doesn't really get updated anymore, but there's a lot of old art here, and you can kind of see how the character designs and stuff are different from the game. That Ilian used to have short hair. Keska used to be a human. Mikhail probably changed the least amount out of all the character designs wise, but his personality changed a lot. In the very first comic, he was like a very naive, very like kind of sweet and caring well, I'm not going to get into all of that, but as you can see, yeah, his designs changed. I decided to go with long hair, and the style has changed. I went a little bit more kind of illustrative than going with the very like very anime style of like the past. As you can see, there was always like humans, elves, and like these beast tribe people in the story. That has never changed. So yeah, with that said and done, let's go ahead and listen to the music. I'm so happy. So this is like kind of giving me like the chills because it's so perfect for kind of encompassing what the game and the character. I'm going to turn this down just a little bit, but I want to keep like kind of listening to it in the background. So as expected, Kerry really nailed it. It kind of like perfectly encompasses kind of what the main theme of the character and story are kind of meant to be. I like how it's like kind of like brooding, but then there's this kind of like I want it to come back. It's kind of brooding, and then it has like this moment where it kind of has a little bit more of a lighter, kind of like hopeful moment to it. And I think that's a lot of what the different traits that the player is given to build upon in the story. That Ilian, the main character, is a very kind of established personality, and no matter what the choices that the player makes, they're not going to like make his personality like change, you know, completely and entirely. It's more like going to be an influence of like what impulse does he pursue. So the story and the themes of the game is very much about like a conflict between wanting to be a part of something with others, and I guess leaning on others and having hopeful feelings and hopeful wanting to have a more positive outlook, and wanting to you know, I guess live a life that like most people would be considered like moral, good, and pleasant and peaceful and ideal. And then having very kind of difficult experiences in life that make you cynical to those hopes and dreams of like being that like kind of like more empathetic and you know, peaceful pursuit that you would perhaps naturally pursue had you had a more nurturing and trusting kind of environment that kind of nurtured and curated that. So then wanting those things or having those hopes becomes kind of a scary thing, that you're afraid to get your hopes up. You're afraid to pursue that that path because you don't want to relinquish that control, and you don't want to be disappointed, and you don't want to be betrayed, and you don't want to you know, basically rely on factors that are outside of your control, out of your power. And I think like a lot of games that have very kind of like black and white messaging will kind of like tell you that, oh, if you pursue like a path of control, of a path of like trying to just control everything around you and with your emotions, and not rely on others, that is not, you know, like kind of the human spirit or the good way to go, you know, that's going to be a path of I don't know, a lonely path. And I think that there is truth to that, but there are certain shades of gray that also relinquishing all of your power and control and your autonomy on the hopes and dreams that other people will be able to support you as much as you want to support them, does not always turn out well either. We know that. And you know, the cautionary tale often puts blame on the victim of, you know, who might have been taken advantage of or manipulated, saying, well, they should have exercised better judgment not to entrust, you know, a sociopath or a narcissist or whatever, you know, personality disorder that person that took advantage of them are. But in reality, you know, anytime you are willing to give a lot to other people, there's always the risk that they're not going to appreciate it, and oftentimes, you know, won't appreciate it. And that's something that you have to be okay with when you give yourself to others. So there's just a lot of nuance that I feel like this music really encompasses, and I'm just so thrilled. I think this is fantastic. In fact, I might get emotional, and I'm not the type of person who usually is like very into music, in the sense that like I don't normally make really strong connections. But of course, because she was making this for my game and for my story, I would naturally be very like connected to this music. thank you so much for listening to my to my ramblings. Thank you so much for kind of sharing this this reveal with me. I'm really excited to be able to implement the music gradually as she creates them to the project. There was a couple notes that she also sent along with with this music, the current build, that there was a scripting issue in chapter 3 with kind of the very last portion of it, where it's possible to revisit an option that you've already completed and cause there to be a crash in the game because the variable, the item kind of gets removed from your inventory and it can't be accessed. So I'm going to have to add a conditional into there to not trigger that option once you've already completed it. So that is what I'm going to try to work on today after work, and I'll probably have an updated build with this track included and that little bug correction. And I'm gonna leave a link in the description below to Kerry's website where you can listen to her demo reel if you'd like to, if you kind of want to familiarize yourself with some of her other work and some of her career. There's also a link on my itch.io game page to that same page. So thanks again. Enjoy the process.